Welcome back to the Sisters Podcast. I am Betty Tucker. Today it's just going to be me. Noodle is a little bit under the weather, and so is Natalia. One thing, though, it's going to be a little special show. My best friend, her birthday is on Monday. I'm not going to say her name, but happy birthday. I love you tremendously. I don't know what I would do without you in my life. What I'm going to do today is bring you guys a story by Neil Gaiman. It's a little short story, and it's one of my absolute favorite stories. It's so sweet, and I don't know. I just adore it. It's called Harlequin Valentine. Now, it does take place on February the 14th on Valentine's Day. However, it's just gruesome enough to kind of be October Halloween-y feeling. So, here we go. I hope you guys enjoy it. It is February the 14th, at the hour in the morning when the children have been taken to school and all the husbands have driven themselves off to work, or dropped, steam-breathing, great-coated, at the rail station at the edge of town for the great commute, when I pin my heart to Missy's front door. The heart is a deep red, almost a brown, the color of liver. I knock on the door sharply, rat-a-tat-tat, and I grasp my wand, my stick, my oh-so-trustable and beribboned lace, and I vanish like cooling steam in the chilly air. Missy opens the door. She looks tired. My Columbine, I breathe, but she hears not a word. She turns her head, so she takes in the view from one side of the street to the other, but nothing moves. A truck rumbles in the distance. She walks back into the kitchen, and I dance, silent as a breeze, as a mouse, as a dream, into the kitchen beside her. Missy takes a plastic bag from the paper box in the kitchen drawer and a bottle of cleaning spray from under the sink. She pulls off 2 sections of paper towel from the roll on the kitchen counter. She walks back to the front door. She pulls the pin from the painted wood. It is my hat pin, which I stumbled across. Where? I turn the matter over in my mind. Gascony, perhaps? Twickenham? Maybe Prague? The face on the end of the hat pin is that of a pale peridot. She removes the pin from the heart and puts the heart into the plastic bag. She wipes the blood from the front door with a squirt of cleaning spray and a rub of the paper towel, and she inserts the pin into her lapel, where the little white-faced August stares out at the cold world with his silver eyes and his grave silver lips. Naples. Now it comes back to me. I purchased the hat pin in Naples from an old woman with one eye. She smoked a clay pipe. It was a long time ago. Missy puts the cleaning utensils down on the kitchen table. Then she thrusts her arms through the sleeves of her old blue coat, which once was her mother's. Does up the buttons, 1, 2, 3. Then places the sandwich bag with my heart in it determinately in her pocket and sets off down the street. Secret, quiet as a mouse, I follow her. Sometimes creeping, sometimes dancing, and she never sees me. Not for a moment. Just pulls her blue coat tightly around her, and she walks through the little Kentucky town, down the old road that leads past the cemetery. The wind tugs at my hat, and I regret, for a moment, the loss of my hat pin. But I'm in love, and this is Valentine's Day. Sacrifices must be made. Missy is remembering in her head the other times that she walked into the cemetery, through the tall iron cemetery gates, when her father died, and when they came here as kids on All Hallows. The whole school mob and caboodle, all of them, partying and scaring each other, and when a secret lover was killed in a 3-car pileup on the interstate, and she waited until the very end of the funeral, when the day was all over and done with, and she came in the evening just before sunset and laid a little white lily on the grave. Oh, Missy, I shall sing the body and the blood of you, the lips and the eyes. 1,000 hearts I will give you as your Valentine. Proudly, I wave my staff in the air and sing silently the gloriousness of me as we skip together down the cemetery road. A low gray building, and Missy pushes open the door. She says hi, and how's it going, to the girl sitting behind the desk, who makes no intelligible reply. She's fresh out of school and filling out a crossword from a periodical filled with nothing but crosswords, page after page of them, and the girl would make a private phone call on company time if only she had someone to call, which she doesn't. And I see, plain as elephants, why she never will. Her face is a mass of blotchy acne pustules and acne scars, and she thinks it matters, and talks to nobody. I see her life spread out before me. She will die, unmarried and unmolested, of breast cancer in 15 years' time, and be planted under the stone with her name on it in the meadow by the cemetery road. And the first hands to ever touch her breast will be those of a pathologist, as he cuts the cauliflower-like stinking growth and mutters, Jesus, look at the size of this thing. Why didn't she tell anyone? Which rather misses the point. Gently, I kiss her spotty cheek and whisper that she is beautiful. Then I tap her once, twice, thrice on the head with my staff and wrap her with a ribbon. She stirs and smiles. Perhaps tonight she will get drunk and dance and offer up her virginity upon the hymen's altar, meeting a young man who cares more about her breast than about her face, and will one day, stroking those breasts and suckling and rubbing them, say, honey, have you seen anyone about that lump? And then her spots will long be gone, rubbing and kissed and forgotten. But now I have mislaid Missy, and I run and caper down the decarpeted corridor until I see the blue coat pushing into a room at the end of the hallway, and I follow her into the unheated room, tiled in bathroom green. The stench is unbearable, heavy and rancid and wretched in the air. A fat man in a stained lab coat wears disposable rubber gloves, has a thick layer of mentholatum on his upper lip, about his nostrils. A dead man on the table in front of him. The man is thin, old, black, with calloused fingers. He has a thin mustache. The fat man has not noticed Missy yet. He has made an incision, and now he peels back the skin with a wet, sucking sound. And how dark the brown of it is on the outside, and how pink, pretty the pink is on the inside. Classical music is playing on a portable radio, very loudly. Missy turns off the radio, then says, hello, Vernon. The fat man says, hello, Missy. Have you come for your old job back? This is the doctor, I decide. He is too big, too round, too magnificently well fed to be a peridot, too unselfconsciously to be a pantaloon. His face creases in delight when he sees Missy, and she smiles at him, and I am jealous. I feel a stab of pain shoot through my heart, currently in the plastic bag in Missy's coat pocket, sharper than it felt when I stabbed a hat pin in it and stuck it to the door. And speaking of my heart, she pulls it out of her pocket and is waving it at the pathologist, Vernon. You know what this is? She says. Heart, he says. Kidneys don't have the ventricles. The brain is bigger and squishier. Where'd you get it? I was hoping you could tell me, she says. Does it come from here? Is it your idea of a Valentine's Day card, Vernon? A human heart stuck on my front door? He shakes his head. Don't come from here, he says. You want me to call the police? She shakes her head. With my luck, she says, they'll decide I'm a serial killer and send me to the chair. The doctor opens up the sandwich bag and prods at the heart with stubby fingers and latex gloves. Adult, in pretty good shape. Took care of his heart, he said. Cut out by an expert. I smile profoundly at this, and I bend down to talk to the dead man on the table, with his chest all open and his callous, string-based picking fingers. Go away, Harlequin, he mutters, quietly, not to offend Missy or the doctor. Don't you go causing trouble here. Hush yourself. I will cause trouble wherever I wish, I tell him. It is my function. But for a moment, I feel a void about me. I am wistful, almost perish, which is a poor thing for a Harlequin to be. Oh, Missy, I saw you yesterday in the street and followed you into Al's Super Value Foods and More, elation and joy rising within me. In you, I recognize someone who could transport me, take me from myself. In you, I recognize my Valentine, my concubine. I did not sleep last night, and instead, I turned the town topsy-turvy, befuddling the unfuddled. I caused 3 sober bankers to make fools of themselves with drag queens from Madame Zora's Review and Bar. I slid into the bedrooms of the sleeping, unseen and unimagined, slipping the evidence of mysterious and exotic tryst into the pockets and under pillows and into crevices, able only to imagine the fun that would ignite the following day as soiled, spilt crotch fantasy panties would be found poorly hidden under sofa cushions and the inner pockets of respectable suits. But my heart wasn't in it, and the only face I could see was Missy's. Oh, Harlequin in love, such a sorry creature. I wonder what she'll do with my gift. Some girls spun my heart. Others touch it, kiss it, caress it, punish it in all manners of endangerments before they return it to my keeping. Some never even see it. Missy takes my heart and puts it back in the sandwich bag again, pushes the snap-shut top of it closed. Shall I incinerate it? She says. Might as well. You know where the incinerator is, says the doctor, returning to the dead musician on the table. And I meant what I said about your old job. I really need a new lab assistant. I imagine my heart tickling up the sky with ashes and smoke, covering the world. I do not know what I think of this, but, her jaw set, she shakes her head and bids goodbye to Vernon, the pathologist. She has thrust my part back into her pocket, and she is walking out of the building and up the cemetery road and back to town. I caper ahead of her. Interaction would be a fine thing, I decide. In fitting words indeed, I disguise myself as a bent old woman on her way to the market, covering my red spangles of my costume with a tattered cloak, hiding my face with a voluptuous hood. And at the top of the cemetery road, I step out to block the way. Marvelous, marvelous, marvelous me. And I say to her, in a voice of the oldest woman, "They're a copper coin for a bent old woman, dearie, and I'll tell you a fortune that will make your head spin with joy." Missy stops. She opens up her purse and takes out a dollar bill. "Here," Missy says. And I have it in my head to tell her all about the mysterious man she will meet, all dressed in red and yellow, with a domino mask, who will thrill her and love her and never, never leave her. For it is not a good thing to tell your Columbine the entire truth. But instead, I found myself saying in the cracked old voice, "Have you ever heard of Harlequin?" Missy looks thoughtful. Then she nods. "Yes," she says. "Character in the Commedia dell'arte. Costume covered in little red diamond shapes. Wore a mask. I think he's a clown of some sort. Wasn't he?" I shake my head beneath the hood. "No clown," I tell her. "He was," and I find myself about to tell the truth. So I choke back the words and pretend that I am having some kind of coughing attack, to which old women are particularly susceptible. I wonder if it could be the power of love. I do not remember it troubling me so with other women I thought I had loved, other Columbines I had encountered over the centuries now long gone. I squint through the old woman eyes at Missy. She is in her early 20s, and she has lips like a mermaid's, full and well-defined and certain, and gray eyes, and certain intensity in her gaze. "Are you all right?" she asks. I cough, and I sputter, and I cough some more, and I gasp. "Fine, dearie duck. I'm just fine. Thank you kindly." "So," she says, "I thought you were going to tell me my fortune." "Harlequin has given you his heart," I hear myself saying. "You must discover its beat yourself." She stares at me puzzled. I cannot change or vanish while her eyes are upon me, and I feel frozen, angry at my trickster tongue for betraying me. "Look," I tell her, "a rabbit." And she turns, follows my finger, and as she takes her eyes off of me, I disappear. Pop! Like a rabbit down a rabbit hole. And when she looks back, there's not a trace of the old fortune-teller lady, which, to say, was me. Missy walks on. I caper after her. There is no longer the spring in my step there was earlier this morning. Midday, and Missy walks into Al's Super Value Foods and More, where she buys a small block of cheese, a carton of unconcentrated orange juice, 2 avocados, and on to the Country One Bank, where she withdraws $279.22, which is the total amount of money that she had in her savings account. I creep after my sweet sugar, and quiet as a grave. "Good morning, Missy," says the owner of the Salt and Pepper Cafe when Missy enters. He has a thin beard, more pepper than salt, and my heart would have skipped a beat had it not been in a sandwich bag in Missy's pocket. For this man obviously lusts after her, and my confidence, which is legendary, drops in wells. I am Harlequin, I tell myself, in my diamond-covered garments, and the world is my harlequinade. I am Harlequin, who's rose from the dead to play his pranks upon the living. I am Harlequin in my mask with my wand. I whistle to myself, and my confidence raises, hard and full force once more. "Hey, Harv," she says. "Give me a plate of hash browns and a bottle of ketchup." "That's all?" he says. "Yes," she says. "It'll be perfect. And a glass of water." I tell myself that Harv is a pantaloon, a foolish merchant that I must bamboozle, befuddle, and confuse. Perhaps there is a string of sausages in the kitchen. I resolve to bring delightful disarray to the world, and to bed the luscious Missy before midnight, my Valentine's present to myself. I imagine myself kissing her lips. There is a handful of other diners. I amuse myself by swapping their plates when no one's looking. But I have a difficult time finding fun in it. The waitress is thin. Her hair hangs in sad ringlets around her face. She ignores Missy, whom she obviously considers Harv's preserve. Missy sits at the table and pulls the sandwich bag out of her pocket. She places it on the table in front of her. Harv, the pantaloon, struts over to Missy's table, gives her a glass of water, a plate of hashed brown potatoes, and a bottle of Heinz 57 variety tomato ketchup. And a steak knife, she tells him. I trip him on the way back to the kitchen. He curses and I feel better, more like the former me. I goose the waitress as she passes the table of an old man who is reading USA Today while toying with his salad. She gives the old man a flirty look. I chuckle. And then I find I am feeling peculiar. I sit down upon the floor suddenly. Honey, what's that? Says the waitress. Health food, Charlene, she says. Builds up the iron. I peep over the tabletop. She is cutting small slices of liver-colored meat on her plate, liberally dousing them in tomato sauce, and piling her fork with hash browns. Then she chews. I watch my heart disappearing into her rosebud mouth. My Valentine's jest somehow seems less funny. You anemic? Says the waitress, on her way past once more with a steaming pot of coffee. Not anymore, says Missy, popping another scrap of raw gristle, cut into small pieces in her mouth and chewing it hard before swallowing. And as she finishes eating my heart, Missy looks down and sees me sprawled on the floor. She nods. Outside, she says. Now. Then she gets up and leaves $10 beside her plate. She is sitting on the bench on the sidewalk waiting for me. It is cold. The street is almost deserted. I sit down beside her. I would caper around her, but it feels so foolish now that I know someone's watching. You ate my heart, I tell her, and I hear the petulance in my voice and it irritates me. Yes, she said. Is that why I can see you? I nod. Take off that domino mask, she says. Looks stupid. I reach up and take off the mask. She looks slightly disappointed. Not much improvement, she says. Now give me the hat and the stick. Missy reaches out and plucks the hat from my head and takes my stick from my hand. She toys with the hat, long fingers brushing and bending it. Her nails are painted crimson. Then she stretches and smiles expansively. The poetry has gone from my soul, and the cold February wind makes me shiver. It's cold, I tell her. No, she says. It's perfect, magnificent, marvelous, magical. It's Valentine's Day, isn't it? Who would be cold upon Valentine's Day? What a fine and fabulous time of year. I look down. The diamonds are fading from my suit, which is turning ghostly white, peridot white. What do I do now? I ask. I don't know, Missy says. Fade away, perhaps. Or find another role. A lovelorn swain, perhaps, mooning and pining under the pale moon. All you need is a columbine. You, I tell her. You are my columbine. Not anymore, she tells me. That's the joy of the Harlequin, isn't it? We change our costumes. We change our roles. She flashes me a smile now. Then she puts on my hat. My own hat. My Harlequin hat. Up upon her head. She chucks me under the chin. And you? I ask. She tosses the wand in the air. It tumbles and twists in the high arc, red and yellow ribbons twirling and swirling about it, and then it lands neatly, almost silently, back into her hand. She pushes the tip down on the sidewalk, pushes herself up from the bench, all in one smooth movement. I have things to do, she tells me. Tickets to take, people to dream. Her blue coat that was once her mother's is no longer blue. It's a canary yellow, covered in red diamonds. Then she leans over and kisses me, full and hard upon the lips. Somewhere a car backfired. I turn, startled, and when I look back, I am alone on the street. I sat there for several moments on my own. Charlene opened the door from the Salt and Pepper Cafe. Hey, Pete, have you finished out there? Finished? Yeah, come on. Harp says your ciggy break is over, and you'll freeze. Come back into the kitchen. I stared at her. She tossed her pretty ringlets and momentarily smiled at me. I got to my feet, adjusted my white clothes, the uniform of the kitchen help, and I followed her inside. It's Valentine's Day, I thought. Tell her how you feel. Tell her what you think. But I said nothing. I dared not. I simply followed her inside, a creature of mute longing. Back in the kitchen, there was a pile of plates waiting for me. I began to scrape the leftovers into the pig bin. There was a scrap of dark meat on one of the plates beside a half-finished ketchup-covered hash browns. It looked almost raw, but I dipped it into the congealed ketchup and, when Harv's back was turned, picked it off the plate and chewed it. It tasted metallic and gristly, but I swallowed it anyhow, and could not have told you why. A blob of red ketchup dripped from the plate and onto the sleeve of my white uniform, forming a perfect diamond. "Hey, Charlene," I called from across the kitchen. "Happy Valentine's Day." And then I started to whistle. Well, that's the end of that little story. I hope everyone enjoyed it. I really love it. I love the way Neil Gaiman constructs a story. I mean, he puts so much detail and whimsy into it that you really get engrossed by it. He's one of my favorite authors. So yeah, that concludes this installment of Bettie Telling Stories. Like I said, I hope everyone enjoyed it. Make sure you like and subscribe and share. Check us out on Twitter. Check us out on Facebook. And we just started an Instagram. There's not a whole lot of stuff up there, but you can go and check it out. It's kind of fun. You can see glimpses. You can actually see the Bettie Tucker that you know the voice of. So, yeah, I hope everyone checks it out. I hope everyone's having a fantastic day. Once again, happy birthday to my very best friend in the world. To everybody else, see you later. Bye.